Welcome into episode 189. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at Bailey J Adams 22, at by CA Simmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. It is the Pegasus Podcast's third birthday, and
Yeah,
I
it
have to
is.
give a peek behind the curtain here. We did this intro already, but Christian made me stop it because he not only did he not have his microphone plugged in, he did not have his microphone on his desk. So we're 3 years in, and things like that I feel like happen regularly. Like one of us does something dumb every once in a while, and it's just like, why do people listen to this?
Let's go through what's happened for the third. This is a podcast that has been running and having success for 3 years now. We got several minutes into it before I realized that not only had I not plugged in my microphone, it was not even on the table. The microphone was not here.
And as you put it, something's different.
Something's
Something's
different because I looked where my mic usually goes and it wasn't there. I realized I'm wearing the same shirt I wore for last week's episode, which I try to avoid since we have a video podcast. And we had a debate with you about whether you should take off your Rays hat or not because you said you weren't sure if you liked how it made your head look. So that's where we're at 3 years
I
into
never
this
like how my
podcast.
head looks, so I'm glad we do a video
Oh,
podcast.
you've
Which
got
I
a
guess
great head.
you all right. You brought me you brought it to my attention that we've been doing the video podcast for 6 months now, which
We have.
that seemed like it flew. I didn't think that would have been the case,
We've
but
sort of been doing it for 6 months. We took a 3 week break during the season when my laptop broke, but other than that, we have been doing
right.
it for 6 months. So to our YouTube audience, for those of you, it's grown more recently in the last couple months, but thank you for being part of our podcast audience. We do appreciate it.
Yeah. That's the
Except for
thing
the
is
guy
like
who keeps telling me to stop saying like. There's someone who replies
I
to
don't know
our
if I
YouTube.
don't think it's just you.
Is it?
It's not just you. I think
Is
it's
it
me
both of
too.
us? I feel
I
like
think
it's just
so.
me. That's just how narcissistic I am. As I read the comment that didn't address a name and just assumed it was directed at me. But there's a guy who
Even if it was negative.
multiple podcasts replies on YouTube and says stop saying like so much or it's immature and whatever. It's not a written
Immature,
article.
lazy English.
This isn't radio. We're not reading a script. We're talking. I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
thank you for listening though. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and we've been doing this for 3 years, and
Yep.
every time we get to like a big milestone episode, I'm like, wow, I can't believe we're still doing this. And I don't know why I think that. Like, I don't know. I didn't start the podcast and think, yeah, we'll probably do this for a few weeks and that'll be it. But I guess it's just more so like people listen to this, which is nice, and we appreciate
It is
that.
cool.
And sometimes I
It is
just take
cool.
a step back and I'm like, why do people care what you and I have to say about UCF football and UCF athletics? And it's great. So thanks for listening. I did put out the Pegasus Podcast Twitter. I did put out asking for put a question asking for favorite moments from the Pegasus Podcast, and we only got like 4 replies. So I guess maybe you guys actually don't like us, and we'll just go away forever. But we appreciate the replies.
Bailey
And
was mad because he
anything.
said that if I'd posted the tweet from the account, which no one can tell who's posting, that it would have gotten more replies. So do
Well,
with that
because
what you will.
whenever you've asked for questions for mailbags, or not even for mailbags, just ask for one singular question, you get like 28 replies, and then we got 4 replies. But we do appreciate the replies. We appreciate everybody listening for this long. We got replies about gold uniforms. I wonder who that came from. Somebody shouted out our post game Baylor podcast, which I did not have the stomach to go back and listen to. And someone liked the uniform talk, which there will be more of, and
Lot
it
more.
won't stop. So
It's never
yeah,
stopping.
that'll be good. But yeah, we appreciate everyone listening. Today we'll talk about it's kind of funny. We're doing something that I don't know if the podcast got a ton of attention from it last year, but the Night Sports Now got a lot of clicks from it. Christian last year ranked the travel destinations in the Big 12. We're doing something, and that was very well received by a lot of
Yes.
people.
Big
So
12
we'll be
fans loved
talking
it.
a lot about zoos and airports here. No, we're doing the travel destinations for. Give me a look. Okay, so I guess we got zoos coming up here. We're ranking UCS travel destinations for this season. They've got 5 road games, and the schedule comes out. Is it official that it's next week?
Yes. Well, it's not
Okay.
official, but The Athletic has reported that the Big 12 schedule is going to release on January 30th. So why not help you guys figure out where you're going to take your road trip by ranking these destinations for you?
Yeah.
We're just helpful like that. We're such good hosts.
We're helping the listeners rank the travel destinations, and then after that, we'll take this UCF stadium survey and help out UCF. We're in a helping mood
Yep,
this
we
week on
are. This is going to be a very helpful
our
podcast.
podcast's 3rd birthday.
I think it's great. So if you didn't say, that's the second part of the podcast is UCF sent out a survey which has some interesting information within it about what UCF is planning for their new Roth Tower, the new tower they're going to build at the stadium, and we thought we'd take it and offer Terry Mahadra and the rest of UCF Athletics our advice on this tower.
Yeah,
Should be
sure.
great.
So let's start with the road destinations. We're gonna do this in alphabetical order and try to keep this a little more organized than we normally do. So we'll start with Arizona State. Where do you have them in ranked 1 to 5?
Can I preface all of this with something? You
Yeah,
told me
probably
that it
should.
took you no effort at all to come up with this list, and you felt right about it, about what the best road trip to take and what the worst would be. I agonized over this and switched it like 9 times, so
Really,
I'm concerned.
I came up with my ranking without doing any research, and then when I did some research, I flipped one. I made one change.
Okay.
So, but I feel like the bottom of this list is I thought it was very obvious. But
Time will
where do
tell.
you have Arizona State?
I have Arizona State fourth.
Oh, I have them first.
What?
Yeah.
Based on what? Okay, well, take the floor. Explain to me
So
why
here's the
Arizona State
thing.
is the best road trip possible for UCF fans this year.
It depends on what you're looking for. I had them second originally, and it was because like I think from what I've researched and what I've seen, people say Tempe's a great place to live, great place to visit. There's a lot, a lot of fun. I almost put it to number two, not number one, because it is a long trip and it's going to be time consuming. So it's like I'm not taking this trip because I don't have the time to dedicate. If you're going to go that far out west, you need a good amount of time to be out there. And so that's why, like, it depends on who's doing this ranking. And I did almost put it lower because, like, I can't take this trip because I only have a few days to do the weekend road trip for some of these UCF games. But I don't know. It just I looked at the stadium, I looked at the atmosphere, which is surprisingly. I don't know if the atmosphere is good, but the attendance is surprisingly good.
They
Like
say
they're
it's
not.
good.
Yeah, they're not very good. They haven't been very good for a while, but I mean, the stadium still rounds. They were averaged 43,000 in 2022. They averaged 49,000 last year. And yeah, I don't know. I've just heard good things about Tempe, and I thought, it's a unique destination, and you get you get a completely different, I don't know, side of the country out of it. Um, and yeah, I just read good things about Tempe, so I was like, all right, let's go with number one.
Yeah. Okay.
Why do you have it fourth? Is it because it's far away?
Yeah. It's a 5 hour flight, and I don't want to do that. Also, it's a couple other. I swear it's not that simple. It's a couple other things. One, and this is just this is me generalizing an entire state, but I've been out to Arizona multiple times in my life. But as far as when I was in cities and whatnot for the Fiesta Bowl, and there is nothing like it's just desolate. And I know that the Fiesta Bowl is not in Tempe, so that I'm just generalizing a whole state, but it's just not a region of the country I connect with. It's very dry and very hot. I'm not about it. It's also far away. I would also push back on Arizona State having a good stadium. Their stadium atmosphere sucks, from what I can tell. I also am going to push back on their attendance. I watched a couple Arizona State games this year, and that stadium was not full. So I feel like they're just flat lying. And
Everyone lies.
the one regret I have from our road trip this year when we went to Cincinnati was that Nippert kind of sucked. I didn't think the atmosphere was good. And I know that that sounds like, since I always like mess with Cincinnati fans, that sounds like, hey, I genuinely was like, oh, I was expecting way better. And I was kind of bummed about that. So I feel like I'm now prioritizing this year in this list a little more about like, I want to see a very good college football atmosphere. And I don't believe Arizona State is going to provide that. And it's far away.
So that's interesting. So, well, for one, I wasn't really expecting a great atmosphere in Cincy, I don't think, just because they were not good. So it was
Well, their
like,
fans talk so much like our state,
yeah.
like on lists, it's always like, oh, bounce house or nipper. So like I was expecting an atmosphere similar to UCF's, and it
Well,
was just
Christian, the game
not.
wasn't at night, so
That's right.
it's
That was the
different.
Cincinnati fans' defense. Is
They
if the game had been at
invented
night, it would have been
they
crazy.
invented nighttime,
They invented nighttime.
or something. But no, it's interesting that you went this route because last year with that list that you made, it was a lot less about the atmosphere and the stadium itself and more about the city. And that's kind of like I
I
took
know.
that approach kind of with this because it's like, yeah, I don't think Arizona State has like an elite atmosphere or anything like that, but I was like, I have a decent enough atmosphere, good place to visit out in Tempe. It's like a unique trip to make. And
And
so
on the
yeah,
flip
I did
side,
go a little bit more of the route that you did last year, actually, where I was like the city and taking the city into account as a whole, because some of these that I have lower down the list are better atmospheres. And if you're just talking game day atmosphere and stadium, then they would be higher. But as
right.
far as making it a trip out of it, I'm like, I don't necessarily want to go there.
And on the flip
So
side, we love Cincinnati, the city. It was very fun. It was a
yeah,
lovely trip.
not as good as
Um,
Memphis.
you can't beat Memphis. Memphis is like one of my favorite cities in America now from that trip. But I don't know. I'm trying to balance it a little bit more because
Okay.
and that's part of it too for me is like I said, it's not just that, oh, because their home atmosphere is bad. I also Tempe's just not a place that I'm very interested in visiting. It's
Yeah, I
not a
mean,
place that,
to be clear, I've never been to Arizona, so I've never been further west than Texas. So
really. Wow.
yeah,
I've been
I
all
don't
over the West
travel.
Coast, man.
I was gonna say I
Colorado,
don't travel a lot.
Arizona, New Mexico,
I just
Washington,
don't.
Alaska. Sorry, now I'm just bragging about all the places I've been.
Yeah, yeah,
I do that
Ireland.
sometimes. Ireland. We
Um,
talked about that joke on the podcast.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
Ireland's
sure
pretty
we have
cool.
at some point.
I went to Ireland for a UCF
Um,
game. That was the first time I've ever been to Ireland.
we talked about that too, because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's why it came up somehow. And I said, "Wait, you've been to Ireland?" And we talked about the whole thing. But Yeah, do we want to just move on, I guess, past Arizona?
Yes.
Anything else to say? Okay. I have to look at the schedule on my wall to see what's next
Good
alphabetically.
Lord.
It is Florida.
Florida.
Florida Gators.
Yeah.
Where do you have it?
Third.
I also have it third.
This is a tough one because it's obviously the most important game of the season,
Yeah.
probably, but also that's not a trip. Like going to Gainesville is not interesting. It's a small little bad town that no one enjoys, and I the most I will be doing if I do go to that game, which I'm probably planning to, is I will be driving in and watching it and driving out. It's not so I put it in the middle because best possible game, and that counts for a lot. But also, this is not a trip. I'm not taking PT over this. This is just not. It's not
I can
interesting.
just almost, yeah, same. I'll read you my notes on this. Put atmosphere A plus, easy trip, big time game, rarely a chance to do this because UCF doesn't play in the swamp a lot. And I said, but it's also Gainesville. And I did. I had that thought where it's like, say it's a Saturday night game. If it's a Saturday night game, I'm driving up there Saturday afternoon. I'm going to the game. I guess I'll have to get a hotel because I'm not going to make that drive back at night because I don't want to do that. And I'll leave like first thing Sunday morning. I'll get breakfast at
100%.
somewhere and then leave. It's not a trip that I really want to make. And I'm not even sure I'm going because I don't know if I can handle the toxic atmosphere, just me as a person, which might surprise people that like I'm afraid to go to that game because I just don't want to get. I don't know. I'm gonna be on edge that game, and
I
I
mean, you're
don't
not a
want.
confrontational person, so it doesn't
I'm
surprise me that you don't
not.
want to be around confrontational
Oh
fans.
no, that's the thing. It's like I'm saying I don't want to go because I'm afraid I'm going to get into a confrontation, which I'm not a
Oh,
confrontational person typically.
here's a
But in an
serious
atmosphere like
question.
that, it's gonna be heightened enough where I'm gonna be like, oh, I don't mess with me. Ugh,
What was that? Oh,
I
don't
don't
mess
want
with
to I
me.
don't want to deal with these people.
I have known you for what? 8 years? 7 years?
Whoa,
How long have I known you? We met
yeah,
in
7 years.
fall of 16.
Yeah, essentially, but we became friends in spring of 17.
Okay, so we've known each other like 7 or 8 years. 7 years, we'll say. I'm trying to think of a time I've seen you legitimately angry, and I'm having a hard time. I can't think of a time.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if there's been a time when you would have seen me angry. I feel like there's times you've made me angry, actually.
I know, but you,
You've been the the source of my anger,
but usually when
I
I
don't
make you
think you've
angry, you just
been
get kind of
around.
pouty. Like you're not like I'm openly really angry about this. I actually think off the top of my head, the angriest I've ever seen you is in 2017 when Memphis scored at the end of the game and you had to change the score in a few different places in a KSN article. But so I'm trying to square that with I just can't imagine you going to a Florida game and being like, I'm ready to like start some confrontations with
I'm
these
not going to
Florida
start
fans.
anything, but I'm afraid of
That you'll
what
finish
kind of
it.
trouble I could get into. And yeah, I'll finish it if I have to.
Now I
That's what I'm
really
saying.
want you to go to the Florida game.
I don't
I
put
want the
myself.
pod to have a good story about Bailey getting in a fight in the
Which
stands.
you know what's funny, and I think maybe it's just a sense of like this has become such a thing between like UCF and Florida fans, but it's like I've been to that stadium for LSU Florida games, and like it's been fine. Like
All right, think about what we just said though. We just said that Florida UCF is a more vicious confrontation than Florida
no,
LSU.
it's not, but it has become such a thing. And UCF, I don't know. I just don't like the way they look down on. There's like I don't know if
I
there's kind
agree.
of a
I
mutual
agree.
respect between S2 SEC programs. Like they just look down on UCF as a program, and I don't want that
I
attitude
think that
around me.
it's fair to say that UCF fans who attend that game, if they're not traveling in packs, will likely be treated very badly by the Florida. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be one of
Um,
those things where we come on social media and we say, "Oh, wow, you just never know." Like people are so kind in real life. I don't think they're going to get that kind of reception.
can I try to decide if I can tell this story in the podcast? I won't
Go
tell the
ahead.
full story.
We'll cut it if you can.
When I was, what was I, 7 or 8 maybe, I went to my first LSU game. It was LSU at Florida. And my uncle was an LSU fan, the reason I became an LSU fan as a kid. He took me, my aunt was there too. I can't remember if my little cousin was there, but I know it was at least the three of us. My uncle, um, my uncle just dressed in LSU gear was called a slur.
Oh,
And not, yeah, it was bizarre because my uncle, I don't know, it was just bizarre. Like he was minding his own business, and my uncle was fairly a confrontational person, but out of nowhere, he was called a slur, and yeah. So I honestly, as a kid, don't remember it, but my uncle brought it up recently. I was like, oh yeah, I was there. He was like, yeah, you were there for that. I just didn't remember it happening, but
so
yeah.
not to
So
generalize a fan base like I generalize the state of Arizona, but Florida fans do have that rep of just not being friendly when you meet them in real life, especially in their town and at their stadium. So
yeah,
yeah, that tracks. And that's why if I go, I'm gonna probably try to cover it and just avoid all of that. and
Yeah.
wear a polo shirt with no markings and just slip in and out.
I can't decide. I can't decide yet. When the time comes, we'll see. We'll see what I want to do.
If you
But
do go, you need to wear, like, you can't just have a UCF shirt. It's got to be obnoxious, like jersey, hat, shoes, everything. It's got to be just
I guess
obnoxiously
I do
UCF.
have like white and gold shoes. I was like
Yeah,
shoes, but
yeah.
yeah, that's
It's those
fair.
ones you and Wild Bill are always talking about. The
Maybe I should
yeah,
wear my national champion shirt.
yes. I no, okay. I don't even own one. I will go buy, if I go as a fan, a 2021 Gasparilla Bowl t-shirt and wear that to the stadium. I think that's the best possible path.
I actually do have one. It's a long sleeve shirt though, so I don't know if it'd be appropriate for
October 5th in Florida. It's not
October.
looking likely. Yeah,
No.
not looking likely.
All that being said, yeah, it's third on my list because
Same for
it's
you?
a big game and it's gonna be a massive, I don't know, just a massive thing.
It's the biggest game of the season.
Which
My
is
notes
crazy
were
to think
not really
about.
a road trip. Gainesville sucks.
It's true. I've been there far too many times to more than I've cared to have been there, but maybe I'll
Can
go.
I tell a Gainesville story
Sure.
let's just turn the whole podcast into this. So I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before. I grew up in a sort of Florida household. My dad went to UCF and my mom went to Florida. And my mom does care about Florida and Florida football and all that. So I kind of grew up on both. There's embarrassing photos of me as like a 6-year-old in a Florida t-shirt, just because that's what happens
Me
when
too.
you have a parent went there. But for you, it's USF, so it's worse. But so
No, I have pictures of me in Florida gear too when I was
oh
a
right, I
kid.
have one on my phone of you like
I
8
was
years
very
old in like a Florida
Yeah,
shirt.
I was not 8. I was in kindergarten, but I was very
Okay.
impressionable as a kid. A lot of my friends liked Florida, so I was like, yeah, go Gators.
Yeah, because you sent that in a group chat once, and I was just like, I'm
I
saving this
wish I
for
hadn't.
whenever it's necessary,
Yeah, you have a lot of pictures of me. I don't like it.
just for blackmail purposes, for
Yeah,
my
no, I
podcast
know.
co-host.
I'm aware. No, I'm aware.
But anyway, this is all to say that I've probably told this story in the podcast at some point, but it was probably a long time ago. So my mom really wanted me to go to Florida, hopefully, and I was really against it just because I didn't like the vibe of Florida alumni. But we went on a tour, and it also, like, for the record, like, for the background, Florida has one of the best journalism programs in the country, so it really did not
Yeah.
make sense for me to not go there since I want to do journalism. But choices are choices. So we went to UF for the tour because my mom was hoping that maybe if we got on campus, I'd really like it. And we're doing the tour. The woman is telling us about whatever. First off, one of my favorite moments of the tour was they take us to the Florida football stadium and they treat it like it's a palace. And then she turns around like with the face of someone like handing out candy and is like, and if you are a student here, we guarantee that you will get to go to at least one game during your time at the University of Florida. Like, it was the biggest treat in the world that I'll get to go to one game. But anyway, that wasn't the best part. The best part was we're walking to one of our next stops on their very stupid campus, and there's this couple talking to the tour guide, and she's like, yeah, we're also looking at UCF. And the tour guide goes, oh, you don't want to look at UCF. They're not really like a real school. They don't have any school spirit. It's just kind of like a community college. You don't want to look at UCF. We left the tour. I was like, I can't, like, I was like, I can't deal with this. We ended up finishing the tour after I calmed down, but and that was when I realized I had to go to UCF because I was that angry about it. But I I toured a few colleges in Florida. I feel like if you've listened to this, you probably toured a college at some place. Pretty rare to just down talk another school that aggressively on a tour. So just
Yeah.
another example of Florida not being the best, and why I hope that they lose in football this year.
It's funny you bring up the journalism thing. It's like how, oh, it would have made sense to go. Like, I knew that they had a really good journalism program. I wanted to do journalism. I didn't even consider it. Wasn't even on my list. Like, I was like, I can't do that. I had become to the point where I was like, I've been a hater of this school for too long now. I can't turn around and then go there. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was fun. I actually have more Gainesville stories, which is hilarious, but we don't have to get into it any
We
further.
could do a whole podcast. Just this is great. We'll bring out some more of these during that week.
One more real quick. One of my birthday trips was based around Gainesville. Worst idea I've ever had.
Why? For what?
Because they had LSU was playing them in baseball, and I was like, oh, I want to go to LSU baseball games. Went to 2 games. LSU lost both of them. Worst birthday trip ever. I mean, I enjoyed the company. My family was there. It was nice, but it was bad idea.
Yikes.
All right. So who's next? It is Iowa State.
5th.
I had him at 5th.
Yeah, I'm not going to Ames, Iowa, guys. I'm sorry, and I don't think you should either. I think
I
it's
said
just where we're at.
on my list, it said just no interest in going. Is what I said. Like the one thing is like their atmosphere is actually good. Like
Might
from what
be
I've
one of the
seen,
best in the Big 12, if not the best. It's a huge 62,000 seat stadium. They pack it for every game, good or bad. Like, I think it would be an atmosphere worth seeing, and for that it would be worth it. But I'm not going to Ames, Iowa. It's very difficult to get there. It's the whole connecting flights and then rent a car. It's seriously a town that it's one of those small towns that basically is propped up around the campus. There's nothing to really do there. We also don't know when this game is yet. If it's in November, there's no damn way. Like, the only way you could ever convince me is if it was very, very early in the season, and even then, I just don't have interest in that.
Yeah, that's what I even looked when I was looking this up. It was like the atmosphere is good, and I was like, even as good as the atmosphere is, it's not enough to draw me there because one of
No.
the selling points of Ames was like, oh, it's close enough, like it's close enough to Iowa City. You could knock out 2 college football games in a day, depending on kickoff times. I'm like, I'm not gonna, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm a
I
big
mean
college
this in
football
the
fan,
most
but
respectful way possible, but of the 134 college football programs next year at the FBS level, there are quite a few I would put ahead of Iowa as a team that I would have that I'm willing to drive for to watch a game. I'm not,
yeah,
no, absolutely not.
yeah. And again, like if it's late in the season, I've never seen snow, I guess, so maybe I should go.
You've never
But
seen snow?
no, I never have.
You
I've
should
seen
go.
snow flurries. I don't know if it really counts. I don't count that. I
I
saw I
think it
saw
would be
snow
really
flurries
cool.
for the first time on the way into the Peach Bowl in 2017 or
Oh, it was flurrying
January.
before that game, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah,
I think
that
it would
was
be
the only
really cool
time.
if the first time you ever saw real snow was as you were sitting in the Iowa airport, unable to come home because of it. I think that would be a really fun way to start that.
Bad. I don't. We talked so long about Gainesville, Florida. But we're like Ames, Iowa. It's like that's it. It's the worst one on the list, and I don't know what else to say about it.
I think everyone agree. I mean, looking at this list right now, as far as which home game or which road games are UCF fans actually going to attend in force, obviously Florida. As far as the plane trip ones, no one's going to Iowa State. No one's going to that one. I just don't buy
No.
it.
So we have your 3, 4, and 5, which is
We
very
do.
interesting because we have my 1, 3, and 5.
Mm.
Next is TCU.
TCU, I have at number one. It's the only
I
real
had
city on this list.
I had them at number 1 and swapped them to number 2
Really?
for Tempe. Yeah,
Okay.
but
I think I know Dallas isn't some insane, like as far as cities in America, it's not one of the most culturally beloved cities, but it is a big city. There's tons of stuff to do there. Barbecue and the food is supposedly great. If you're into JFK, they got all that stuff. So have fun with the museums and all that. And also I think TCU is one of those teams that would be an interesting stadium and an interesting atmosphere. They've
really
historically been
old.
really good, very old, and it's supposedly a really cool stadium. It's all made
Yeah,
of,
it looks like it.
very cool looking stadium. So I think that would be as just far as am I actually going to have a fun trip and come back from that with wow, that was a really nice 3 or 4 days. I think it would be TCU.
Trying to remember why I flipped 1 and 2. I think because I saw it and I was like, oh, I was like, I feel like it'd be unfair for me to put Arizona State like lower because I don't have the time to go out there. And I think because TCU's atmosphere, that was maybe part of it. Where it's like I don't feel like TCU's atmosphere is going to be that great depending
Yeah,
on whatever.
how they're
It's like
doing.
their stadium looks pretty cool, and then otherwise it was like yeah, because it's in Fort Worth, right? And so it's
Yes.
like the Dallas Fort Worth area. I think Dallas like 45-ish minutes away.
Yeah, but I feel
Um,
like you can stay wherever you want and then just go over for the
yeah,
game,
no, you
right?
can, and that's why I have it high on the list too, because it's like there's plenty to do in Dallas. I'm sure there's good things to do in Fort Worth, and it's like as someone who went and I went to what is it called, AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Oh, actually, that's in Arlington technically. I think
It's all the
I
same
don't know how
thing.
far it is, but yeah, it's all the same area. I went there last year, 2 years ago now, and that's a stadium worth seeing. So it's like if you can swing. If this works out to where UCF plays at TCU on Saturday and there's a Cowboys game on Sunday, that's a nice little football trip to
That
do,
was a
I
reason for me
think.
too. Also, you may be able to catch, depending on how the times work out, some ACC football while you're in Dallas as well.
A weird thing to say.
And completely true, but weird. So
Yeah. Well,
something
the
to keep in mind.
ACC what was it? ACC Friday schedule came out, and like just to see some of the matchups was
There's a November game that's what Cal at Wake Forest. A
yeah,
Friday night in November, Cal's going to play at Wake Forest. I love that more than I can even
yeah.
put into words.
And no, I did. I had TCU up higher, and again, I looking back on this, and I do this every time we do a list. I'm like, I make a change, and I'm like, I think I just changed that just to change it,
Here's the way
and
I look at it. If
because
you and I were
TCU is
going
so
to one of these
manageable.
games, we'd go to
Yeah,
TCU.
we would.
Yeah,
That's why I try not to make it. I try to make it all about me.
but it is.
I guess. I mean, this is actually very on. This is very on par for this podcast. I was trying to think of like people would be like, oh no, I want to go like out to Arizona. I'm like, I just don't have the time, nor do I
But
want to fly that far.
this
But
is my thing because even if you don't care about plane flights, is Tempe, Arizona, or Arizona State Stadium, are either of those things like notably more interesting than Dallas or TCU Stadium?
um, I don't know. I've been to Dallas before, so that's why. Like that's part of it. Is like I've been
You
there
can't pull
before.
that you're not doing it for yourself and then say, well, I knocked Dallas because I've already been there. You can't pull those comments back to back.
No, but that's why I ended up. I don't know. There's a weird thing. I feel like that's the clear. Well, that's weird because you put Arizona State at 4. To me, that
Right.
was the clear top 2. So you have West Virginia at 2.
I had West Virginia
I
number
have
two.
West Virginia at 4, which is
Really?
ironic. Yeah, it's
Okay.
ironic because for a long time now I've had like a bucket list of college football stadiums, and West Virginia's has long been on there, but little by little lately I've had less and less interest. I just don't know if I really care about going there. And it's one of those things where it's like, to me, it was like Ames, where it's like the only thing that I can imagine that I would enjoy there is the atmosphere of the stadium. And that's, if they're good, I guess. Like, I don't know. I think like Iowa State's atmosphere is more regularly good, regardless of how they are on the field, than West Virginia's. I think West Virginia's is a little more. I could be speaking out of turn. I don't know that for sure. But other than like, there's not a lot that would draw me to Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy being around their fans when they were in the bounce house, and I don't think they've been very pleasant people to interact with online. I don't know. I've just started to grow like less and less fond of West Virginia now the longer the UCF's been in the Big 12. And the other thing is like it's been on my list for the longest time because of the country roads tradition of like actually being there, like singing that song. I'm starting to like hate that song, I think. That's all they have. It's like, oh, that's all they have. That's all they do. I think part of it is because the Bucks play it at like the stupidest times at Bucks home games. They just start playing that song when they're down like 14 points in the third quarter. It's like, this is not the time for this. And also, it's just like I every time West Virginia wins a game on social media, it's like their only thing is like, oh, take Country Roads, take us home, or something like that. I'm like, is that
They do have
really
to
all
mix
you
it up a
have?
little bit. It's the only thing they have when they win a game.
Yeah.
I do love this little conversation you've had here, though, because you started with, yeah, I put West Virginia here, and by the end of it, we had covered you saying their fans suck, their stadium atmosphere sucks, their town sucks, and their song sucks, like just across the board. Not a fan of West Virginia, huh?
No, I mean the stadium atmosphere, I think actually like is good. I
Yeah.
think.
It's just, I don't know
Right?
if it's
I
just,
mean,
it's still from in my head when we were younger and they were really good, but I just always have associated West Virginia Stadium with just a really cool college football atmosphere.
yeah, no, and I think it is, and that's why it has been on my list. It's just more and more lately. I'm just like,
Right.
I don't know. If I was to pick one on my list to eliminate or just be like, oh, I'm never going there, it would probably be that one.
So, full
'Cause I don't
disclosure, when I
care as
made
much.
my rankings a year ago of the different travel destinations in the Big 12 and how I ranked them, I believe I had West Virginia and Morgantown last on the list. But I've been enlightened since then. I've learned
Okay.
that you can just stay in Pittsburgh and just drive an
Yeah.
hour and a half for the game. And Pittsburgh is an awesome city. Who everyone who's been
Yeah.
to Pittsburgh loves it. So I'm just looking at this as a Pittsburgh trip where I also go to a football game that I drive a little bit for. So I'm all in.
You know what's dumb? That's why I had it ahead of Iowa State. Like it was like I had it at 4, and I was like, Pittsburgh's not that far away, and you can go to
Yep.
Pittsburgh
Just do a
for
Pittsburgh trip.
another sports weekend kind of
Catch a
thing. And that
Steelers
would be
game or
cool.
a Penguins
Yeah.
game.
Pirates
Is
game,
that what they
whatever.
are? Penguins?
Yeah,
Pittsburgh
Penguins for
Penguins? Okay.
hockey, Pirates
Yep.
for baseball. Yeah, I guess that's it.
That
So do you want to go through? I don't know. That was a really great way. That was a
that
dead
was
way
a
to end
really
that.
just like, all right, well, we
No,
did it.
I don't know. I think this list as a whole, like, I don't feel like that these are that good. They're not like UCF doesn't have very good road trip
And this
destinations this
is
year, is what I figured out doing this list.
the absolute worst part of being in the Big 12. It's really nothing but benefits, but the one downside is the road trips just suck. There just aren't a lot of good road trips. And it is the same thing. It's just we're looking at this list and it's like none of these. I mean, Florida, obviously, but that's out of conference. I mean, Big 12 itself, there's just this is going to kind of be the problem year in and year out. I mean, we can look ahead. We can go look at their future schedules and you'll see
The
it just doesn't
better
really get
ones,
better.
like the better ones in the Big 12, like they're not going to, I guess TCU's one, but like of the ones in the Big 12, they're not going to any of the good ones this year other than maybe TCU. I guess Arizona State, if you're looking at my list that I regret.
Even jump ahead to
Um,
2025, it's at Baylor, at BYU, at Kansas State, at Texas Tech, at Cincinnati. It's like Cincinnati's really the only viable. I guess BYU maybe, but that's a
a lot
long
of stuff.
flight.
So like that's the thing is it really, and this is why it's so subjective, is it just depends on what you want. Because like
Yeah.
Kansas State, and my boss went to Kansas State, so it was like to hear him tell it's like you got to go there. It's a great college town. The atmosphere does there like seem really good, and so it's
I'm
like I
not
do want to
saying
make
he's
that trip.
wrong, but has anyone ever, when talking about their own college, said, yeah, the town sucks?
Probably, I think I've heard people that went to UF say like, yeah, there's nothing to do in Gainesville.
There really isn't. But
So
yeah, I don't know. I
so there's
and
that,
like
but
you
like
said, some people we also do trips differently. Like for us, when we do a trip for a game, we go for like 3 or 4 nights. We turn it into a whole vacation. We do all this stuff in the
yeah.
city. Some people for the UCF games this year, it's like fly in Friday night, watch the game, go home. And if that's what you're doing, then it really doesn't matter the destination. You're just going to a game you want to go to. So it just depends.
Yeah, because I can't say like I have the funds to just do as many vacations as I want to, and it's
Yep.
just like, can I sell myself on a vacation to, I don't know, like Morgantown, West Virginia? I'll just take another shot at West Virginia. Like I'm not gonna look at that and be like, yeah, that's where I want to go on vacation. I
Yeah.
have like maybe one or two of these this fall. Let's go to Morgantown. So yeah, no, and I think you look at like the future, like Boulder. I think it was Colorado's in Boulder, right? And that's
Yep.
one that like I really would
I would
like to
love to
make
go to
someday.
Boulder.
It's just so far. Um, but Yeah, and then even Waco, like I don't really. It's again depends on what you're looking for because I don't know if I could say like, yeah, I really want to go to Waco, but like their stadium looks really cool.
Yeah.
Like their stadium setting and like the atmosphere itself, and I know they're not a very good team right now, so that's also kind of a harder sell too. But maybe you go and you say, hey, you want to see UCF beat a team? Well, I didn't beat them this year, so it didn't matter. But I don't know. But you want to do let's run through our list just to give
Okay.
everybody a nice, clean, concise finish to this. Let's hear yours first.
So I had Iowa State at 5th, Arizona State at 4th, Florida at 3rd, West Virginia at 2nd, and TCU at 1st.
So for number 5, I had Iowa State. Number 4, I had West Virginia. Number 3, I had Florida. Number 2, I had TCU. Number 1, I had Arizona State. Although I'd probably flip my top 2 and just do the original. Just what they say when you take a test, listen to your first instinct. Don't second guess yourself. Shouldn't have done that this time. Should have just stuck with my first
Stick with your
initial. Stuck with my initial list where I did no research and said, yeah, that list feels right. So should have done that, but you know what? What can you do? All right, let's fill out this UCF Stadium survey, which, to be fair, you have looked at this already. I have not.
I very briefly skimmed through it. And
Right.
to provide the background, UCF has sent the survey out to, I believe, season ticket holders.
Yes.
We won't say how I got it since I'm not a season ticket holder. And it's about, we know that Roth Tower is being
Didn't your
demolished.
dad get it?
Yeah, my dad emailed it too.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know. That seemed more sketchy than it needed.
I just wanted to make it sound super sketchy. Like, who knows how
I wasn't
got
sure
this.
why you did that. I'm sorry
My
for outing
father
you there.
forwarded me an email. And anyway, so we know, like I said, Roth Tower is being demolished, which was a really overdramatic way to phrase it. They're going to eventually take down the current Roth Tower and build a new one that's going to be, we've seen some of the renderings, but those aren't even architectural renderings. They're figuring out what this thing's going to be. And this survey is to solicit fan opinion on what it should be, which means that it's probably going to, and since I've looked ahead, I know it does a little bit, include some information on what this new tower might look like. So we figured, being good podcast hosts that we are, we're going to help UCF out and answer these questions for them and help them build the new Roth Tower. So I don't have the survey you do because,
We're
like
like
I said,
30 minutes into the podcast, and people are probably like, "Good podcast host." I'm not so sure about this.
Not so sure about that one. You're like, these idiots just said Gainesville wasn't the best road trip for UCF this year. Morons.
Ugh,
Those people vlogged out though. But anyway.
Yeah.
So we should point out, I don't have this in front of me because, like I said, I
Yes.
started taking it and now it's locked me out since I started taking
And
it.
for video podcast viewers, if my head's down, it's because I'm looking at my phone where it has the thing. I'm just gonna be looking the next like 20 minutes of the podcast. It's just gonna be me like this. You're gonna see the top of my hat. So
I do that all podcasts anyway.
All right. So we're starting here. It asks which of the following describes your current status with UCF. And do I need to read all of these? Like it's a lot.
How many is
Should
it?
I?
I don't know.
Like 10?
Charge
On fund donor, football season ticket member. So I'll check that one. Former football season ticket holder, occasional football ticket buyer, alumni. So I'll check that one. Recent graduate in the last 10 years. Yep, check that one. Faculty slash staff member, no. Corporate sponsor, no. University donor, non-athletic.
What would it do if you checked both season ticket holder and former season ticket holder?
I don't know. I think it would confuse it.
It would just break. Yeah. So I think you're a season ticket holder and I'm an alumni. So those are both checked.
Am I a non-athletic university donor?
Do you donate?
I have on UCF Day of Giving.
If you don't,
it's a non-sports thing.
I think they mean
I don't regularly.
Donors. I think they mean people.
I'm a fake donor. Former UCF student athlete, no. Current student, no. And then there's one on here that says no affiliation with UCF. So if you're none of these things, how did you get the survey? Let's click next.
Wait, how would they have gotten that?
I really don't know.
We'll keep going.
On average, how many home football games do you attend annually?
All of them.
6. You have to put a number in, so it's like 6, right?
Well, there's 7
usually 6.
Put 12.
Yeah, but what?
If you can put in any number, put in 12.
It says home. How many home games? All right, we're putting 6 because on occasion I will skip one, but
okay.
My average would probably average out to like 6.4. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Where did you sit in FBC Mortgage Stadium when attending UCF home games this past season? Please indicate where you'll be. Yeah, I cannot do that. So we've got 0, and that's the 3MG Club. I'm just going to answer this part honestly, right? When we get further into this, we're going to do stuff that makes it seem like we have a lot of money, because that's what it requires to get through the survey, I believe. But we're just kind of going to look and see what this thing has to say. So I'm putting 0 for all of these, and then I put 2 season tickets in the one that says my section, which is 231 for now. Trying to relocate.
Did you just out where you sit in the stadium now?
Yeah, I think I've done that before.
Oh, have you? Okay.
I think so. Maybe not. I've done it on Twitter before, so it doesn't really. It's probably worse to do it on Twitter than here. How many years have you?
I almost did a very dumb thing on Twitter this week.
What?
Wild Bill, I posted a tweet about how I was texting you about something about the basketball team, and he replied and said, "But we never text." And I started to
You're gonna
reply to
give him your
him
phone number on
with my
Twitter?
phone number on Twitter, and didn't think
Not a
that through at
DM?
all. Not a DM, like in a
Oh
reply
my
to him. So
lord.
that's yeah. I stopped myself. We're okay.
Um, how many years have you been a UCF season ticket holder? So
Too many.
19 for me. I started in 19. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 5,
5 years.
6.
That's
I
awesome. Six
renewed
years.
this year,
Yeah.
so 6.
Wow. That's
Um,
we're getting so old. It's crazy.
I know I hate it because like the fact that I guess it's not been that many years, but when it said like recent graduate in the last 10 years, I'm like we're like almost to the second
No.
half of that.
Oh
We're
God,
almost to
we
the
are
second half
though.
of it.
Wow. Well, no, because
Well, I mean, you
I did
graduated
grad
again.
school, so I'm a little later.
Yeah, well, I don't like
We're
you.
counting my grad school year,
Um,
so I feel younger.
and since we're doing this collectively, we'll count it for me too.
All right.
I also have a master's degree. Overall, how would you rate the value you receive for the dollars you spend to obtain your seats for UCF football home games?
That's all you.
That's a tough question to ask me
Is it
after
on a scale
some
of
of the
1 to
home games they
10
had
or
this year.
oh
It's
man.
poor value, fair value, good value, or excellent value.
What do you think?
Honestly, we're not. I'm not going to hold this survey responsible for some of the results on the field. So I'll put excellent value because really, it's not. I know like tickets have gone up this year, so maybe in the future this might go down to good value. But I think it's still when you comparatively, like I am surprised I still pay as little as I do for 2 tickets and decent seats, not like premium or anything, but I'd say it's good value. It's my fall calendar. Like it's
Yeah.
really is. It's around that. So we'll say excellent value. Why not?
The survey has
On
you
a scale
now.
of on a scale of 1 to 7, with one being very
What?
dissatisfied, one being very dissatisfied and 7 being very satisfied, how would you rate your level of satisfaction with the following elements of the stadium? So
1 to 7.
stadium location slash setting. Let's say very satisfied, right?
How
I
would you
like where it
say
is on
what? You want
campus.
them to move the stadium if you put one?
Well,
Like
no, but it's just like I guess how hard is it to get to? I don't know. I like it. I like where it is on campus. I like the
yeah.
athletic village.
Yeah. I just don't know if
Yeah.
anyone's putting one. What are they supposed to do about that?
Stadium appearance. This is an interesting one.
Put like 3. Let's be real. Let's be honest. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
No, we're being honest because I was gonna say like when it's full, it looks great, but when there's a big section missing and it's just the aluminum bleachers, doesn't look very good.
Yeah. They also
Um,
need like the outside of the state. Like they could have covered
yeah.
it's something. I know I'm saying
I've
they
always
could have
wondered
like that
about
wasn't
that.
tens of millions of dollars more to do so, but they could
Yeah.
have done it.
No, it's kind of bad. But what's funny though is like when they do the aerial shots, like because the area around it looks so nice, and this probably lends itself to the location of the stadium for the first question. But like when they do like the aerial shots of it, like in the off season, like last weekend, when it just said home,
Right.
it looks so nice. Like it looks so good. And
Yeah.
it's not
It
the
looks
stadium that's
gorgeous.
looking nice. It's just I don't know, the
Campus,
surroundings
the
and just
greenery, the
yeah,
lake. It's just very beautiful. The
stadium
stadium
entry
itself is
slash
whatever.
stadium entry slash exiting. I don't know, 5,
Okay.
6. I'll put 6.
Why are you
Not
asking me?
perfect,
I
but
don't have the same entry process as you. I actually don't know if it's hard to get in this. Is it? Like how hard is it to get in the stadium?
it depends. It honestly, and this isn't UCF's fault, really. It's just the general population's fault because some people have no
Nice.
idea how to work their tickets or pull them up, and then there's the whole. It
All right.
sometimes is a process. Concourse slash crowd circulation. I
It's
don't
all
even know
you.
how to answer this because I don't leave my seat. I guess I leave them a little bit, but we'll do 5. Why not? Seat location slash sight line to the field. Well, this is a very subjective thing.
Yeah, because it depends on where you sit. I feel like there aren't
Yes.
any bad seats in the bounce. Like they don't have any. Like you know that
No.
college football campus account that posts all the obstructed
Yeah.
views. I don't think they have any seriously obstructed views anywhere.
I can't imagine they do. I'll
Yeah.
put 7. Seat comfort. Ooh.
Ugh, 1.
Not comfortable at all. I'll put 1. Yeah, because no, it's not great. Seat price. Well, isn't the same kind of the same thing as value? I'll do 5, 6, 5. Why not?
Go for it. This is
I
a
like how
weird
you
survey so
now
far.
this is the portion of the podcast where you're just silent because you can't answer my
Well,
questions about how
you
much
keep
I say.
looking at me for affirmation. I'm like, I don't sit in the stands. I don't know. This
Well, I
is
don't know.
on you,
Just if you have
man.
anything to chime in, that's why I keep looking. I'm also trying not to
I haven't
stare at my phone this
sat
whole time.
in the stand. Well, that's a lie because I did a game as a fan in 2020, but I haven't regularly sat in the stand since 2015. So I feel like my experiences of game day are sort of
And
aged
even
out at
then,
this
that
point.
was the student section, right? So
Yeah, I mean, we had season tickets growing up, so like I've sat for many games over many years in the bounce house, but it's just not
you should have
recent.
answered this like from through the lens of you in like 2012.
Like
That's
when
what
I
you
was like
should have done.
15. I should
Yeah.
have answered it from 10-year-old me who fell asleep during the games. I should have answered it from that. Hot
I'm not
dogs
sure what
aren't
this
tasty
means.
enough.
I'm not sure. Get on it, Scott Carr. Um, I'm not sure what this means. Allocation of stadium seating. So like how many premium sections there are versus how many like other sections there are?
Yeah, just I
How
don't know.
this
Or
seating's
they've
allocated?
allocated. I think some people might answer that as they've allocated too many to the students. I
I'll
wouldn't
put
agree
four
with that,
because
but
I'll just put it right down the middle because I don't really understand it.
okay.
Availability of shaded/covered seating.
Zero. There's
There's no
none,
zero. It's
man.
1 to 7.
Okay,
Well,
one.
the under the tower is often shaded,
Only
but you
when
have
the
to
sun's
pay
at a certain no.
a
One
lot of
that
money
they need
for
to put a
putting
freaking
one.
canopy up. Put a one on that.
It'd be so nice.
They need to.
Um,
We're helping
yeah.
them determine this. If you put a one, it'll happen.
Number of restrooms. I don't know, 3, 4. I'll do 4. Quality of restrooms. That'll be a 2. There's one, and I don't know what the reason is for this. And I'm curious to know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. There's one bathroom that I've noticed probably since 2019, maybe even since I was a student, that has a stall where it doesn't have a door, and it's the same one. Hasn't had
And
a
it's never been
door
replaced or anything.
for years. No, it
Hmm.
hasn't. Every time I've ever walked into that bathroom, that door is not there. And so shout out to you if you know what I'm talking about. Ease of restroom access. Let's say 5. It's easy to get there. Number of concession stands. Decent number, 6, I guess. I don't know. I usually don't eat like at games. We've talked about that before on the podcast. I think sometimes I'm trying to get better at actually eating on game days because sometimes I starve myself.
You do do that. It's very odd.
This past year I was a lot better at it. I actually had a meal at the stadium one time this last year. I had Huey Magoo's. Quality of concession offerings. Let's go with 5. Ease of purchasing concessions. That's been easy. 6. Cost of concessions. I don't think it's been that bad. Let's do 5. Vehicle traffic flow. You can be a part of this. Well, I guess maybe not because you get out later than everyone else does. It's hard for me to answer this too because I usually park all the way across campus and it's fairly easy to get out.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And I feel
I'm
like I leave
putting
a lot later than most people because I go to the post game presser, so I'm not out of the stadium for a while, and it's still terrible. So
It's still terrible when you leave.
yes,
That's not good. Okay, so I'll put 2. Parking access/convenience. I don't know. I park in garage A, and anyone who knows and's been to UCF knows that is the front of campus. Um, let's go with 3. Um, then allocation of parking. I don't know how to answer some of these. It's like I've never tried to buy a parking pass for like the season just because it's a lot more money. So I guess I don't know. I'll put 3. Quality of sound system.
here's what I think.
What?
I think it's time to just fill these all in and move on to the
Okay,
Roth
that's
Tower
fair. Yeah,
renovation.
that's fair. Quality of sound system, let's do 6. Scoreboard, video board quality, let's do 5. Stadium cell phone coverage, that one's not very good. Let's do 2. Stadium Wi-Fi access, 2. Game day atmosphere, 6 or 7. What do you think?
Not. Oh, right. It only goes to 7, not 7.
Nice.
1 to 7 is so
Tailgating,
odd.
it is very odd. Tailgating experience, let's put 7. Why not? I don't really tailgate often. 3 elements. This is a long survey. 3
Yeah,
elements
that's why I'm like, we don't need to get bogged down into like traffic
or
patterns,
characteristics of FBC Mortgage Stadium that could be enhanced to improve your overall game day experience. I got to pick 3 of these. Let's go with seat comfort. That's a good one. Wi-Fi/mobile connectivity so I can get my tweets off, and traffic
It's a
control.
very
Let's
specific
do
to you
that.
thing.
That's relatable, I think.
Sure.
UCF is currently considering the addition of a number of new and exciting premium seating options on the west sideline that could provide patrons with elevated food and beverage offerings, more comfortable seating, and access to climate-controlled club lounge spaces. On a scale of 1 to 7, our favorite scale, 1 being not very important and 7 being very important, how would you rate the importance of the following premium seating amenities that could be added? Wider padded seating. Let's go with 7. Everyone wants wider padded seating.
So this is
More
for
legroom.
underneath the tower, or is this in the tower? They're like that was very odd phrasing. They're like the
Part of
west
enhancements to the
sideline.
stadium. I don't know. It's
Okay,
just
they're being
so
weird.
wider. Okay, more legroom. Let's go with 7. Everyone can use more legroom. Covered seating options 7. I think we're making the stadium more comfortable right now.
We are. The seats are getting
Access,
wider and they're being shaded. Love it.
yeah. Access to indoor climate controlled club lounge.
Do
How
you?
important is that?
How important is that to you, honestly?
Not very. Because like I don't know. It's different. When I go to the game, I want to watch the game.
So this is
And I
interesting.
guess
This is interesting because
Yeah.
I'm curious. That's why I'm a little curious about the survey. We'll keep going before I'll reserve my thoughts, but I think that I have a thought. But anyway, go ahead.
I'll put that as 4 because it's like one of
Okay.
those things where like if I had club access, yeah, I'd probably go in there before the game. Be nice, could maybe go up at halftime.
Yeah.
But no. In-seat wait service. I don't need that.
No.
Honestly.
You just stand up, guys. Go get your stuff. Come on. It's a football game. It's not a
Private
five-star restaurant.
restrooms.
As
I don't
opposed to
know.
what? What does a private restroom mean? Like your specific seat
You
has
get your own.
like what does that mean?
I think it means like you want them to include restrooms in the club that are like only club members can get this access to
I
the
assumed
bathroom.
that was already a thing, but okay.
Yeah,
We'll say
you would
sure.
think.
You know what? We want
5.
that.
Let's,
Yeah.
let's do that. 5. Private elevator access.
No. Put no. They're gonna take away the press box elevator. Put no.
Okay.
But
How
you don't
would
care at
get
all
up
about
there?
that. Put 1. I'll have
Uh,
there's a it's a whole I don't want to get into it, but there's a whole elevator situation. No, just put 1 for that. They're not taking away the press
Oh, I
box.
mean, I know that. I remember how bad it was getting back up the
Yeah.
elevator. It's not good.
If a bunch of people say they want that, then I will be screwed. So we're putting no.
Upgraded food and beverage options. Sure, everybody loves better food and drink. Let's do 6. All-inclusive food and non-alcoholic beverages. Yeah. If you're paying this money for a club, you want to get food included. That'd be nice.
Yeah, sure.
It's not really doable, I don't think, but cash bar to purchase beer and wine. I don't know. I don't care. If I could get mixed drinks, I'll do it, but I'll do 3 for that because I don't really care. In-seat tablet for replay stats and food ordering. See, the food ordering part I don't care about, but I want the in-seat replays and stats. That is sick.
Okay. You know what that
I'm
means,
putting
right? When they
6.
say an in-seat tablet for replays and stats, it's just going to be like an ESPN feed, right? It's just going to be like the game.
Yeah, but that's cool. I like that.
That's
I
the whole
often
budget. That's the 90 million they got right there for these
don't
freaking
care.
tablets. Wow.
Don't care.
Okay.
Charging ports. This is still for the club, right?
Yeah.
Because if I could have one at my seat, that'd be great. This does not apply. Charging ports. Yeah, I'd say is important. Social gathering spaces. I don't want to gather with you socially.
Yeah, I'm introverted. Absolutely not. Nope.
2. Stupid. Access to outdoor patio area. I'm so confused. I can't picture any of this anymore. Like they're just starting to throw abstract things at me where I'm like,
this is
I don't
the
know,
part
sure.
where I started laughing a bit because I'm like, where is the outdoor patio going? Is it on the sides of the tower? Is it on the top of the tower?
I put a
anyway,
4.
We'll put a 4.
Invitations to exclusive team events. What does this have to do with the stadium?
Yeah, you get to be on the field. Congrats, you're UCF's tight end
6.
if you get a seat in Roth Tower.
Preferred parking passes near stadium.
7.
Yeah, 7. If you're paying that much money for a club, you should be able to park close.
Yeah,
Why
I agree.
not? Oh boy, here's another one. There's pictures in this one. Currently, FBC Mortgage Stadium includes several club seat experiences on the west sideline. A reimagined club experience could be included as part of enhancements to the stadium, which would provide patrons with wider padded seats, more legroom than standard seats, a spacious climate-controlled club lounge directly behind. Is this all the stuff that I just put in, or is this everything I just put in everything that they want? Because like
I think you just put in everything that they were already planning to.
All right,
build.
well, cool. I'm not reading the rest of that then. How would you characterize your interest in new club seats in an enhanced FBC Mortgage Stadium? So this is where you have to put definitely interested. So
yeah, put interested. We're interested.
Unless
Let's do it.
Our listeners are like, just put not interested, so the survey ends.
I feel like this is not going nearly as smoothly as I imagined it in my head. When
I didn't think it was this long. How likely is it that you would purchase new club seat at a total annual cost of $3,250? If we're answering this honestly, would not purchase, but also cannot purchase. We'll put likely purchase.
Okay. 3,250 is the number you got.
What if the total annual cost was 2,007? What are we negotiating now? What if the total annual cost was 2,750 per seat? It only gives me definitely or likely. So I'll just put definitely.
I'm glad you got this. I'm glad you got this because I want to talk about this. So when I took the survey, I guess I answered a little more high roller than you when I skimmed through this part because I got a question there that was not for club seats. It was about a premium loge box. And it asked me if I would be willing to pay $70,000 a year for the loge box.
All right, so yeah, what did you answer?
I don't know. I guess I
feel like I haven't put low things like that often. I don't know. That's weird.
And then when I said no, I wouldn't, it said, how about 60K?
I like how we're negotiating with
the survey. But anyway, get to a price you like.
If you made, I put definitely purchase. If you made the decision to purchase new club seats, how many would you likely purchase? 2. All right, here's another thing. Currently, there are a limited number of cabana loges, along with, is this what you're talking about?
Maybe I was just too early. Go ahead.
at the top of the stadium seating bowl that offer patrons 4 seats at a half moon table. Oh, I like those. Remember we went up there during what was it, like the Fan Fest that one year?
Yeah, we just sat in the
And
seats to see what it would be like.
yeah, and originally I was like, I don't know if that would be good. We got up there and I was like, this is actually like a nice view. I would have liked that. How would you characterize your interest in a new Cabana Loge? I can't say that word. Loge?
Loge.
Loge experience in an enhanced FBC Mortgage Stadium. Let's just put definitely interested so that they get off our back. They're asking me if I want to get the 4-seat table for 15,000. So let's put likely purchase. Let's play the game a little bit and let's see what they offer now. And they say, what if it's 13,000? If I keep saying likely, are they going to like go, what about 10? Should I try it? I'm going to do it. Likely purchase. Now it's down to 11. Let's keep negotiating. We're going to likely purchase. Okay, now it's 11. Would you prefer to share the cost of a new Cabana Loge experience with other parties? So now because I only want to pay $11,000, like, well, see, you're going to have to share the table if you're going to pay 11,000.
Why would you ever share the table? I don't. Maybe people.
It's a small table too. I think it's like a half. They said it's a semicircle. It's a small table to share with people you don't know. I guess you'd know them by the end of the season. Enhancement to the west sideline of FBC Mortgage Stadium could include reimagined luxury suite experience. Do we still want to do this? I don't. Let's zoom through this. I'll put possibly interested. We'll see how fast I can get kicked out of the survey. Yeah, this is where it's asking about 70,000. It's asking me if I want to pay 70,000.
So we did get it. Just skipped me to that one at first. It was like, we can tell you're a man with money, and we're gonna go ahead and just take you right there.
Putting would not purchase. It's gonna be like, thanks for taking this. What if it was 60,000? Nope, would not purchase. That's a lot of money. 50,000. No. All right, now it's gone to other stuff. Yeah, let's just. We're not even halfway done.
Let's just talk about it. We're out.
So,
can I give you my issue with a lot of this?
Yes.
I feel like a lot of that was fastest way to ruin the bounce house's atmosphere was to put a bunch of that side of the stadium in club seats and indoor lounges and patios and loge boxes and not watching the game. That's my concern. And I know that's become more of a trend as time has gone on, but I don't know. I'm a little iffy about it.
I don't think you're wrong. And I think looking at it from an atmosphere perspective, it's the wrong way to go.
Yeah.
But they're just trying to make money.
They're just trying to make money.
They'll sacrifice atmosphere for money. Like I don't think that's. I don't know. I think a lot of places probably do that these days.
Well, that's the thing, and I know, and that's the dumb part is like
you can't say like they're wrong.
No, I don't think they're wrong for that because you got this $90 million. They're basically gonna be able to build this tower for like free, sort of, with this money they're getting from the TDT tax, and then they can just profit an insane amount. And I won't be complaining when within a few years they can use this money to pay players directly, and UCF's getting all these players. But it's just, I don't know. I worry when you put too many people. I was actually talking with, so my parents have been season ticket holders since 2006, and I was with them for a long time of that. Then I went to college and all that, and they recently this year moved with some of their friends to like that club type area. I don't know what it's called. It's like the seats that aren't in the tower, but they're like the nice-ish sort of seats underneath the tower.
Oh, okay, yeah, like the gray ones.
Yes, right, and their number one complaint is the atmosphere sucks in those seats. Like people don't watch the game; they're all there to just drink or talk to each other, and no one's paying attention. And I hate that in order for UCF to make money and just the way sports venues as a whole are going, it feels like they're going to have to embrace that more and put more people in seats like that where they're just not paying attention. Especially since we already have that on the opposite side of the stadium with the Cabana.
Yeah, it's like. It's an existential thing for me now where I'm realizing like sports are just going to get worse throughout the rest of our lifetimes. Super existential.
Yep.
Like they are like, because a lot of it is, and whether you want to talk about like pro sports and some of their TV stuff or stadium things like this, or just even structural, like league structure things with like that, like even you go across Europe and talk about the Super League again or whatever, like they're just going to do whatever to make the most money. And as a business, like, cool. That's what you're supposed to do, right? But at some point, when does it end? You know, I guess it never does. But wow, that was really sad.
I didn't think we were gonna get super profound with this survey. I just wanted to learn some stuff about the tower. But yeah, I don't disagree. And like I said, it's what's frustrating is I think UCF does have to do this kind of stuff. And I could be totally wrong. They'll build the tower and the stadium, the bowl itself will still be super lively and all that, and the tower will just be what it is. But I don't know.
I'm more concerned than I was before we started talking about this because I don't think we've talked about your parents' experience there and how like it's in that section not as lively.
Yeah.
And if the stadium is more of that, then it's just like the fact that you have that example, like it's just going to be more. And I don't know at what point are they pricing people out of going to games? Like,
Well,
I don't
it's kind of the hope. I don't know how the
to
financial
price
parts of
people
this
out.
work, but no. It's not the hope. Yeah, it's the hope we'll get all these cheap fans out of here.
Yeah.
The hope to me would be that if you're just all your high roller fans you're making all your money off of are in this new Roth Tower, then maybe the seats don't for the rest of the stadium don't have to price people out. Maybe they don't have to be that expensive, but it's already kind of happening. You've been very lucky with your season tickets. We've had friends who have not been and have
Yeah.
gotten crazy raises that just don't make sense on their prices. So I don't know. It's just it's the downside of as UCF becomes a bigger brand and becomes part of the Power Four and this big time team that needs money is it's stuff like this. And I know
Yeah.
it's not a UCF thing. It's people just aren't going to sports as much. So the people that are there, they need to find ways to keep them engaged and charge more and all that. But I don't know. I was very excited for the Tower, and now I'm like, oh, this just sounds very, I don't know, very country clubbish and not very great for an actual college football
And
environment.
I think that's the thing is I never really looked at it from the environment standpoint. Just like I wasn't overly excited about it. Like I was just like, oh, it's cool, that's nice to look at, but like it doesn't affect me because
Right.
I'm not going to be up there. So like it was just kind of like, oh, it's cool, but like I don't know, just and I think it for me it was more like I think it'll help the aesthetic of the stadium, and the
Because
stadium will look nicer
the
from
old
the
Roth Tower
outside.
is small, doesn't look very good. This could, I
Yeah,
think the number one thing, like I will forgive all of this, whatever, make your money, is if they put a freaking canopy on this tower and at least one side of the stadium's covered in shade. I feel like that's a
but
must.
you're going to say if this tower is made out of brick.
No, they're not. It's gonna look all new. It'll be made out of like glass and exposed steel beams and all that. I feel like that's what's in these days. What? That's it. That is what it's
No,
gonna
no,
look
you're
like.
right. No, you're right. It just I don't know. It's going to look interesting, I think. It's gonna look like super high tech.
What if it
And
looks
it's just weird.
terrible?
It's weird to picture that on the stage. It might. I don't know.
I don't think it would. I don't know
It
because
could.
some of the actual architectural renderings they've released, like for the new football building and things like that, look very spacey and very new. So I'm hopeful it will look something like that. But I also
I
feel
had
like
another sad.
as USF ran into if their stadium that they were hyping up is so awesome and it's going to be amazing, then you start spending the money and they're like, maybe it is just going to look like UCF's. That's just sort of what happens.
I had another sad thought where it was just like, eventually, what if they do start pricing? What if I could get priced out as soon as next year, and if it gets to be too expensive, because like it's already a lot for me to drive over there 6 weekends a year. If they make my tickets an insane number that I just can't really do anymore, it's like, yeah, maybe I'll only go to 1 or 2 games a year, and it's just it's gonna change.
Hopefully they won't.
Who knows?
Hopefully they won't. I mean, I assume that the biggest rises were going to come when they first got to the Power Four. Like, I don't know what could happen. Well, I'll tell you what. It's if they get good. That's always how it works. I mean,
Yeah.
we're running into the Magic, right? I think we've said on the podcast before. I'm a very big Magic fan, and for many
Mhm.
years I used to go to games and I could sit in the lower bowl for like $30, and now upper bowl seats are $75 because they're 2 games over 500. But that's just it's the name of the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's happening everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's actually going to be interesting to see how all this unfolds with the bounce house, and we'll see. I guess we'll see in
So
the
let's
future.
recap.
But
We said we're going to take
yeah,
the survey because it'll be fun and we can learn about Roth Tower. And it ended up being very tedious, not very interesting, and it made us sad. So that was that was
yeah.
top tier
So
podcasting.
if I was going to rate the survey on a scale of 1 to 7, I'd probably go with a 2. A 2. I was not very satisfied with the survey. I did not enjoy it. It wasn't fun, and it made me sad about the future of my enjoyment of UCF football
Should have been the comment
and
you put at the
sports
end.
as a whole.
And sports as a whole, because it's not just the
That's
UCF
great.
thing. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave all that behind. We sort of helped UCF with how, annoyed the survey or knowing their survey was. We helped everyone with their their travel plans for the fall. Let's get into football news. UCF got some help from former Vanderbilt linebacker Ethan Barr. We talked about this at the end of last week's episode
We
because
did.
we called it a pre-boom because we didn't actually get the boom until I think a day later. But it was reported that Ethan Barr would be committing to UCF. So we talked about it, but more linebacker help is always welcome, especially a guy who played and produced at his previous school, even if it was Vanderbilt. Still, it's the SEC. You can tell he's
SEC.
smart. He went to Vanderbilt.
We should just say it that
So
way. They got a starting SEC linebacker who's now coming to UCF. We'll phrase it that way.
my big takeaway was like, yeah, it was Vanderbilt, but he must be smart. Like he's got to be a smart
Sure.
kid. So it's good.
Yeah.
Good smart player.
Very,
in the
very good school.
defense. He's been at Vanderbilt. So
yeah, I'm sure a lot of
you
those
gotta-
Vanderbilt classes are discussing how to be a good linebacker and all that. So
Oh boy. UCF commission. This is how bottom of the barrel we got with with the news this week. Because there's only 3 things on here. UCF commissioned KJ Jefferson billboards around Orlando, which I kind of thought was like delayed. Was it not?
you know what I saw driving yesterday?
A KJ Jefferson billboard?
No.
Ethan Barr billboard?
Are you gonna keep guessing or should I just say it?
Well, give me a hint.
It was a UCF player.
Kobe Hudson.
Yes.
RJ Harvey.
I saw
Kobe Hudson.
You got it. I saw a Kobe Hudson
Okay.
billboard. And my favorite part about it was it wasn't like Kobe Hudson is back. It was just a photo of him and it just said Kobe Hudson. And I was like, hell yeah. It was cool.
It's not even like the hometown hero ones where it's like name hometown hero, it's just Kobe Hudson.
It's straight up said Kobe Hudson. And I'm like, that must be so cool if you're a player and you see a billboard. It's not even like explaining who you are. It's just like him. Like that was the whole display.
I like
I
to
thought it was
think
cool.
that when Kobe was coming back, he was like, listen, I'll come back. I want this in NIL and I want a billboard that just says my name.
Sounds like more of a
Just says my name.
Javon thing than a Kobe Hudson thing, to be honest.
It does.
I hope they were able to pull the Javon billboards before those went up with his last second.
Then someone's got to go up there and like put a little like addition that just says "Good luck in the NFL, Javon," and then money well spent. Last piece of news: former UCF co-defensive coordinator David Gibbs is now at Illinois. So the what do you call it? I don't know what the word is. The resulting thing from that whole thing last week. We talked about it. Was it last week? That feels like forever ago.
Yeah, Ted Roof was last week. Yep.
So they hired Ted Roof. They have Addison Williams. We were like, maybe what does that mean for David Gibbs? And that's what it means. He's now at Illinois.
Somewhere else, which is too bad because I always got the vibe he was a very good coach. So I guess they just, someone had to go. So that's what we landed on.
That's it for the news. We'll jump into game of the week. And we have UCF men's basketball just coming off of another victory. And this one over West Virginia on Tuesday night at home. They're 12-6 and 3-3 in the Big 12. Who would have thought we'd be there through 6 games in the Big 12? They play Saturday at Cincinnati. Very similar, 13-6 overall, 2-4 in the Big 12. So UCF they're going into this game with a better Big 12 record than Cincinnati, who takes basketball very seriously.
6 games into the Big, like this is not we're 1 or 2 games in. 6 games into Big 12 play, they're doing better than Cincinnati. That's
the fact. Like we're having irresponsible conversations now, and the fact that we're even there is crazy. Like people are like, here's the number of wins they need to get the rest of the way to maybe make the tournament.
If Shamari Allen was not on crutches after the game, I would be here talking about, hey, I think they could maybe be a tournament team. Like I'd actually be there, but he did get hurt. We don't know how serious it is.
That I meant to mention with this game of the week is that he was on crutches. I think Dawkins said after the game that he rolled up his ankle.
Yep.
So I mean, there's obviously the tests are going to be
That's one of those things that he could miss 2 games or 10. Like we just don't know yet.
Yeah.
So but he's a big part of what they do, and they're not the deepest team here. So that could end this dream season real quick, but hopefully everything will be all right.
You knew it was going to happen at some point, didn't you? I feel like UCF basketball, that's just a thing every year.
No, but that's part of the issues they're into is that when you're not like, it's crazy. This team that they've built a team that's flat out competitive in the Big 12 is freaking insane. But obviously they don't have the depth of a team that's just recruiting like crazy. So yeah, every team deals with injuries, but when you're UCF, you get like one and it can really impact your season. So the Cincinnati game suddenly became even more key just because you really hope that they can find a way to win, presumably.
We talk about them being competitive, and it's just like, I know West Virginia is not having a good year, but like, UCF wasn't expected to have a good year. So for them to go out there and just flat out for most of the game look better, way better than West Virginia.
Yeah.
And control that entire game.
They were up the entire way.
Yeah. It's just.
To be clear, when we say they weren't supposed to be worse or whatever, it's UCF was picked by everyone in the Big 12 poll, by media, by fans. They were going to be the worst team in the Big 12. And not only were they going to be the worst team in the Big 12, they were going to be the worst team by a lot. And there was no belief that they were going to climb out of that. It was just that is their new existence. And 6 games in, I believe they're 7th in the Big 12 standings right now. Now, will they stay there? Probably not. But it's past being a fluke. On our last podcast, I was saying I'm sure they're going to go on the road and lose badly to Texas and lose badly to Houston. I just hope they can beat West Virginia to keep the hype going. They beat Texas. The Houston game was bad, but they're one of the best teams in the country. And UCF's not always going to, be amazing. And then they came home and they beat West Virginia. And UCF covered. They beat West Virginia and were literally blowing them out for most of the game. And they made a push late to make the score a little closer. UCF was still in control start to finish. That's crazy.
Still won by what, like 15, I think?
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Around there. But yeah, no, it's wild. And we'll see. We'll see what happens on Saturday with Cincinnati. And then you and I are going to go to a game.
We are.
The Oklahoma game next Saturday. So that's going to be fun.
Speaking of Oklahoma, Texas lost to UCF at home, then went on to beat number 9 Baylor, number 11 Oklahoma. So that's suddenly a very valuable win for UCF in their sort of quest to go to the tournament, which is somehow a real thing I'm saying.
I'd said this a couple weeks ago. I think I was after they beat Kansas. I was like, if they can go to the NIT, I'll be thrilled.
Yeah,
just like I didn't think they were going to be at that level, but
I think NIT is absolutely, because also I was telling you about how it kind of great for UCF, but bad for college athletics. The NIT has been restructured this year to sort of squeeze out a lot of the smaller teams, and now they're obligated to take teams from the power conferences, which means that UCF can be pretty bad and still get an NIT bid just because there's more spots available, which is really lame, but we'll take it.
Yeah. All right. Tweet of the week.
Tweet of the week. Speaking of basketball, this tweet of the week goes to Larry Hamill. I don't know who he is. I suspect he might be an AI, but I figured I'd give it to him anyway. I tweeted about UCF basketball success and just how crazy this is. And he replied, UCF has been great or terrible in the Big 12. Shot
That's
7
honest.
for 44 and 1 loss, lest we forget. And the Knights lost at home to Stetson. Difficult to get too excited about a team with no consistency. Is that the worst tweet I've gotten in reply to me on anything in a while? It feels like it is.
I would say maybe in a while, but I would say overall, no. There's been some bad ones, but
Just imagine UCF men's basketball, who was supposed to, like, we were in the offseason like, man, I hope they win one of these games. I hope they don't go winless in Big 12 play, and they have no hope for the future. They have no resources. They have no money. They're in a tough spot. I don't know what they're going to do. And they're coming in here and they're a flat out middle of the road Big 12 team. And you want to be the guy who's like, oh yeah, well, they looked bad against a top 5 team. What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
you know what's funny? We're running out of time here because we're going a little bit long, but I was wondering if your tweet of the week was gonna be related to the whole horns down thing because we didn't cover that.
Oh my God, we haven't
after last
honestly.
podcast,
If
but-
I'd realized, see, this is where I get messed up because during the season we do 2 podcasts a week during the football season, and now we're down to
Yeah.
1, and I just don't realize how much stuff happens. It should also go to Texas's head coach who called UCF classless and cussed out their players because they threw horns down to each other in their own huddle after a game.
My favorite part of that whole thing is the Texas fans who were mad at their own coach. They were like, "This is a horrible look." They were like, "He's just."
Yeah,
They were
no
like,
one
"It's
was on
fine."
his side. No,
Yeah.
not even Texas fans. It was
Left
not good.
alone. And it was funny because he was like, "Oh, they were classless," and then I think it was literally a week earlier. It was Bill Self was like, "This is a classy program, like run by Johnny Dawkins, like a class
Yep.
first head coach." And it's just like,
Which,
yeah,
to be
you
totally
handle
clear,
losses a
Texas's
little
coach has apologized since and
Yeah.
and said that Johnny
Did
Dawkins
he
is in fact
apologize?
classy. He apologized for anyone who would have been upset with what he said. It was one of those fake apologies where it's like, I'm so sorry if you felt that way.
Yeah, I didn't intend this. I'm sorry if you felt like you got this out of what I said. And it's just like, all right.
So to those of you
sorry
who,
if you were offended.
to those of you who listened to the podcast and inevitably really did not like the survey segment that did not pan out, I'm sorry if you were offended by that segment.
Perfect. I'm sorry if you didn't enjoy it. We didn't either. That's great. We will be back next week with episode 190. We'll be taking another survey. No, we won't. The first and last survey we ever take on this podcast. Hey, you try things out. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Fortunately for us, through 3 years of the podcast, I think a lot of stuff has worked.
That's
things
super.
haven't, but-
So I have a least favorite podcast we've ever done, and I think this one's gonna take it. I think this one will pop. That one is my least favorite, and it
Yeah.
was almost exactly a year ago. It was when we made up a Big 12 schedule because they were taking too long to release theirs. That was my
I don't
least
remember it
favorite.
being that bad,
I hate it. It did not come out well, but I think this
I
one
didn't
takes it.
listen
I think
to
this
it,
is our worst podcast
but-
now.
which is great. Great way to celebrate 3 years of the podcast, putting out our worst episode. We'll be back next week with episode 190. We'll try to top it. Not top how bad it was. We're going to try to top, like, we're going to just be better next week. That's what we'll, that's our vow to use to be better next week. But thank you guys for listening to this podcast. If you made it this far, thank you guys for listening for the last 3 years. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Keep asking us questions. We like answering your questions. Don't try to give us a survey because I'll be mad. I'll get angry. Christian says I never get angry. I'll get angry at you if you try to make us take another survey. So we'll be back with episode 190. Until then, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.